Really
Okay.
pleased to have Steve McDonald on our YouTube game preview. This is our first one for URI. This is a newfangled new way to preview some games. And I can't think of anyone better to talk about the Rams than their longtime play-by-play voice, Steve McDonald. Steve, I could probably go out on my sidewalk and wave to you. We actually live on the same street.
Yeah.
But in a pandemic, it's not like we see each other a lot, you know?
7 houses is about the right distance I want to keep from you, Kev.
I understand.
Whatever it might be, yeah.
You know, when I do my power walks, you know, I give you a little wave then, but that's about it. That's about it.
You're a good neighbor. You're a good neighbor. We appreciate having you down the street.
Steve, just tell everybody how your life has changed in the pandemic. I know that obviously you've been going in to work a little bit, but a lot of people in your industry have been set up at home.
Yeah, I would say most that I talk to anyway in radio have been doing stuff from home. And I think it was intermittent. I think for the summer, a lot of people got back into the station because the numbers were down. And now that when the numbers came up again, a lot of people went back home to do their work. But for 94 HJY, where I work in the morning, we've been in the studio the entire time. And it's actually worked out pretty well because we're pretty much the only ones in. So it's almost an extension of your home, because when you leave in the morning, usually the next people to be in there will be us the next day. So, it's, kind of our deal. But, it's been different, that's for sure. It's good being in because with Paul and Al and me and Kevin Mulhern, it's good to interact and see each other. You can do it on, like we're doing on Zoom. You can get a lot of that facial signals and everything when people are going to talk and everything. But when you have so many times when you're having conversations and everything, it's good to see the other person if you can, and if it comes to the point where at some point we got to be doing it kind of separately, when you deal with it. But so far it's worked out pretty well. I like the Larry Bird, Dr. J picture behind you, Kev.
Squaring off.
That is a classic right there.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
That's a good one.
It's I shouldn't say a new addition. I moved things around when I realized that my background was a little boring. So I had to jazz it up with a little Bird and Dr. J. Exactly.
Yeah, you got to put the fake frame certificates behind you like this.
Well, you're an
accomplished job lot.
I'm not nearly as accomplished as you, Steve. So I don't have many of those. I have two.
If you get close to them, they say Herm Schlebednik. So if you come across Herm, tell him I got all his awards.
Hey, Steve, how was the fall without football? That's a major life change for you.
It's really been different. You have that certain routine. And for me, it was college game day on ESPN every Saturday morning up until the time where I got to leave to go to URI, or if we're on the road to go to a game, do the URI football and basketball games. And, you have a real rhythm to Saturday. Football, aside from other sports, has a distinct weekly rhythm to it, obviously, with games only once a week and on Saturday. So you really get a nice pattern going to your week. It's fun anticipating a game, getting ready for a game, doing a game, then taking a little time and then going through that cycle again. That cycle has been absent this year. I hope it comes back in the spring. That's the plan. Yeah. And it'll be a busy spring with the end of basketball and the beginning of football, but it'll be an awful lot of fun. But it's been different. I've gotten a chance to watch a lot of college football, which I haven't been able to do in the past because usually we're at games and everything. So it's actually helped me. I got to vote on the Heisman. So I'm actually able to see more football outside of the CAA and 1AA football. So for that reason alone, it's good. It's fun watching them on Saturday afternoons, but I'd much rather be at a Rams game. Yeah.
No question. We definitely missed the live. And it's actually a good point about the Heisman. I voted for the Heisman for years and years. And I always say, well, it's awful hard for you, the guys who are with only one team to see those games, unless you're just an addict and you tape them, or you come home and you flip one on right away. And it's just amazing that, that everyone focuses on the games that have been missed because of the virus, and it's certainly been unfortunate, but 80%, 90% of the games are on, and it's been great to watch. But
it has, and getting college basketball back has been a real treat. But again, there's risk that goes along with it, which is a difficult thing to maneuver. But I think the University of Rhode Island and Providence College and Bryant, for that matter, have all done well with it up to this point. It's a shame with Brown University not able to play, but I understand the Ivy League's thinking on that too. But so far from around here, locally anyway, things have worked out pretty well.
Yeah, we have to knock
Yes.
on wood. And
Yep.
It's truly every day, every week. There's no question.
That's it.
On that note, URI is out in Madison, Wisconsin tonight. You are not going on the road for games. Home games, have you been down to the Ryan Center?
We didn't go down for the Seton Hall game, which is the only one so far. We'll kind of play it by ear going forward. But, a lot of people, most of the broadcasters are doing remote broadcasts. So We're going to stick with that for the time being. Obviously, on the road, it's an easy decision to make, but love to get down to Ryan Center eventually. I miss being in that building, even though the fans wouldn't be there. It's and especially for such a big win like they had against Seton Hall, But team's been playing great, and I got to give Dave Cox a lot of credit. I know firsthand that he has been absolutely diligent as far as all the protocols, taking every measure that he possibly can to have the program be safe, and especially have his players and coaches be safe. But also, while balancing with that, the ability to be on the lookout for games and to be able to elevate the schedule as best he can. And he's been able to do that at Mohegan Sun, being able to get into the Empire State Classic, which provided them an opportunity for, a couple of Power 5 games. And then also picking up this game with Wisconsin, a team that was 4th in the country, now 13th. That's a Big Ten. The Big Ten's the best basketball conference in the country this year. They are stacked. And Wisconsin's one of the top teams there, picked 3rd in the preseason. So it's a great game for Rhode Island to get.
No, it's really interesting. 3 weeks ago, I think we were all concerned about URI's schedule. They're not playing Providence, blah, blah, blah. They needed, and then with 2 decisions to upgrade in the bubble, and now this Wisconsin, this is one of the stronger non-conference schedules that they've played in years and years.
Yeah, Shane Donaldson.
I think that'll come across. That'll come across in the power rankings. Win or lose. Rhode Island is 3-2, has won 3 in a row. I think San Francisco was a really good win. San Francisco beat Virginia. That's certainly going to last going forward. Seton Hall's down a little bit. That was pretty clear that they're playing without their starting point guard. But then they just had a really good overtime win at Penn State. So
absolutely,
Seton Hall's, I think in the end they'll be pretty good, and that'll be a win to get excited about. But Steve, usually when a team comes in with this many transfers, it takes a while. It could take a whole season. We've seen transfers that basically that entire new first season someplace a little shaky. That hasn't been the case with the Rams, maybe individually, but as a whole, they're certainly pointing in the right direction through 5 games.
Yeah, I think 2 things on that point. A lot of teams are in similar situations, not to the numbers that Rhode Island is, but everybody you do. And in prepping for these games, you notice. I mean, Wisconsin is not a team that usually has many transfers. They got a couple, but not from this year. But you see a lot of teams in transition that way because of the transfer rule and the adjustments that were made. A lot of guys that wouldn't be eligible are eligible because of the NCAA's decision there. But I think what's benefited Rhode Island is they were able to get these kids in fairly early in the summer. As soon as the NCAA opened the doors for that to happen, Rhode Island was pretty quick to get everybody in and allow them to hang out together, play together, informally, and just kind of do their thing. So they got to know each other for a longer period of time, probably the same period of time as a regular season, but it wasn't shortened by the pandemic, so they were able to get to know each other in their games and stuff like that. So I think that's helped out a bunch. And I think it's one of the reasons that when you look at the preseason poll in the Atlantic 10, Rhode Island's picked 6th, which I thought was low. But sure. I think it's because there are so many unknowns. Other coaches or media people don't necessarily know the transfers coming in or aren't familiar with how they will fit into this system and everything. So I think they're certainly the X factor in the Atlantic 10. They're a team that could, they're pick 6, they could win the thing, or they could be, 2nd or 3rd. Mm-hmm. Certainly St. Louis and Richmond seem to be the class, but I think Rhode Island belongs very close to or in that same, echelon or because they've got that kind of talent, that kind of depth. I mean, Kev,
Right.
there have been teams
Sure.
that have had greater talent overall. I mean, they have a lot of talent, but I'm not going to put them at the very top of that list. But as far as depth, it's hard pressed to think of a team that has 10 guys that are in that rotation solidly. If you get, and they have gotten in foul trouble early on, especially you get in foul trouble down low, you've got numbers. You get foul trouble in the guard position, you've got numbers right now. And you can also match up well against other teams and their size at different positions as well. So like Wisconsin's a big team,
Right.
but Rhode Island can go big.
Sure. No, really for the first time in a while, they have multiple bigs. Jermaine Harris was pretty much the only known commodity up front, but obviously the Mitchells are big and strong enough and productive enough, both of them, to be able to help. To your point about the depth, Ish Leggett, the freshman, is the freshman of the week in the Atlantic 10. He probably won't start all season. And certainly he is a perfect guy to bring off the bench and give you that, energy and spark that you need. And it's coming from a freshman after only 5 games. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think you found out, not that you needed to find out, what Dave Cox thinks of Ish Leggett in that Seton Hall game when he picked up his 4th foul late and coach kept him in the game. Now, Jalen Carey wasn't available, obviously. He was hurt for that game. But here's a freshman who picks up his 4th late, and he said, well, it's a good time to get the kid out and get some more experience in. And he said, you're our guy down the stretch in the most quality minutes that you're gonna see, in a non-conference win against Seton Hall. He had, you watch it, right, Kev? He plays like a senior, plays like an upperclassman, certainly.
He does.
And makes good decisions out there and put together. He's not a slight guy, so he can handle the physicality of the guard position a little bit as well. A lot of people say he's got some Jeff Doughton in him, as far as that type of relationship. And you see
same high school, right?
Exactly. And same high school as Dave Cox as well. So, you see that, and boy, 4 years of him, man, that's going to be something special. The talk about Fats is all warranted. That's great. Jeremy Shepard is something special as well. Jalen being a top 35 recruit to Syracuse and everything. A lot of great stories. And sometimes you forget about Ish a little bit because he's a freshman coming in, kind of the regular path or whatever. But, when it's all said and done, that's going to be as big a story as any, I think.
No question. It just adds to that depth that you're talking about. Steve, I know you've done some work on Wisconsin. You mentioned that they were preseason in some top 5s, actually. This is a team who expects to go to the NCAA tournament every year, expects to win games in the NCAA tournament every year. Could this be one of their better teams?
I think so, because they're a senior-laden team. They've got most of their guys back from last year. In fact, 78% of their minutes are back from last year, 79% of their points, 84% of their rebounds. So basically, they've got just about everything that got them the conference regular season champions last year in the Big Ten before the tournament got canceled because of the pandemic. But Greg Garce's just done a great job. And they got 2 guys that really kind of make them tick, and that's Trice, who's at the point guard position, who is a Cousy Award watch list guy, as is Fats Russell. It's going to be nice to see those guys along with Jeremy Shepard mixed in as far as who's defending Trice at different times. But to see those guys go at it, Fats and Dimitri Trice. And then also Nate Reavers is their best player down low. He's a preseason Big Ten all-conference player. And he's a Wooden Award watch list guy, as is Fats. And he's tremendous. He's the kind of guy you can envision in the NBA in a big way, like not just being in the league, but being a factor in the league, because he's got the size at 6'11", but he's a stretch 4, a true stretch 4. He can step out and shoot the 3, shoots the 3 at right now 55%, 6 of 11. But there's no shot that he has to shy away from. He's one of the, if Garza wasn't in the Big Ten, he might be, in the conversation for Player of the Year in the conference, but Luka Garza will probably get that, I think.
Yeah, I like his chances. Yeah.
Yeah. So they go big with they got Potter at the 5, so it's 6'11", 6'10", 4'5", and they've got some big guards, but Trice is a smaller guy at 6 foot. So they present some problems, but as we mentioned earlier, we saw those problems with URI in certain matchups earlier in the year, Seton Hall being one, but we saw the Mitchell twins out there together against Seton Hall. You saw other, like Antoine Walker's having a terrific year. He's a smaller big when you look at the 6'10", 6'11", but very, very effective down low. He's a guy that impresses the heck out of me. He gets overlooked sometimes, I think, coming into the season, and he has been, as anybody else, certainly Fats is the best player on the team, but Antoine's contributions to this date have probably been as responsible as anybody's for the success that they've had so far with the 3-game win streak coming into this one.
Yeah, I think he's a good barometer, Steve, because unlike the Mitchells and Harris, who do a lot of the rebounding and post defense, they don't really score all that much. But when Antoine can score, he gives the front court a different look. There's no two ways about it. But again, it speaks to the depth, and juggling that depth in a game like today's against Wisconsin will be difficult because of the matchups. But Steve, last one, Atlantic 10. Who do you like?
Well, I think Richmond. I really think Rhode Island can be a surprise, and sky's the limit as far as where they can finish, really, because I think they have so much talent that the league isn't familiar with yet. And as time goes on, and it was a question mark coming in as to how quickly it would mesh, like you were talking about earlier. And I think through 5 games, the answer is pretty quickly. That they've done well, even with the absence of Jalen Carey in the last game. They went and got that quality win. But I think if you take Rhode Island out of the picture for just a second and look at the rest of the league, for me, Richmond is far and above the best team because guards win, and they've got the depth at the guard position. I know they've got some issues now to deal with, but I think from a talent standpoint, that's the best team in the league. And I think everybody says Richmond and St. Louis, and I don't doubt it. So if you have those two kind of isolated at the top, I think, Rhode Island and Dayton, so much is talked about now. Dayton, yeah. Dayton's always going to be there. No and question. Even without topping around, they're still going to be there. But like a Duquesne is a team, he's done a great job bringing in some real talent. So there's a team that people aren't usually associating with the upper echelon of the Atlantic 10 that's going to be not a surprise, because if you pay attention to the league, you've seen that team build as far as quality roster, and they're going to only continue to do that. So I think the top 4 or 5 Bonnies have to be mentioned in there. Top 4 or 5 Davidson. Are pretty strong.
I think Davidson as well. Yeah. No.
Yeah. I watched them against Providence College, and really, it's a game that they should have won at the end there. Right. But he's always going to put a good team out, and Kellen Grady's a good place to start. But they've got some other players as well. Yeah. So I think the top half of the league is pretty strong.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. That's what we're all aiming for. And Steve, I'd love to be able to see you at the Ryan Center sometime this year. But thanks very much. Fun. And do you need your garbage taken out today?
Well, if you could just mow the lawn one more time, Kev, for the season, that would be good. And I'll leave the check in the mailbox for you. Okay?
That'd be great. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Kev.